Hello, story lovers, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're journeying to a faraway kingdom to uncover a timeless and touching tale of true royalty, bitter betrayal, and a little bit of magic. Grab a cozy blanket because we're diving into The Goose Girl, one of the most beloved stories from the Brothers Grimm. Our story begins with a beautiful young princess about to embark on the journey of a lifetime. Her mother, the queen, has arranged for her to marry a prince in a distant land. To ensure her daughter's safety and comfort, the queen gives her two precious gifts. The first is a magnificent talking horse named Falada, renowned for his unwavering loyalty. The second is a powerful magical charm, a small cloth holding 3 drops of the queen's own blood, which would protect the princess from any harm. Accompanying the princess is her maidservant, but this wasn't just any maid. She was cruel, jealous, and fiercely ambitious. As they traveled for days under the hot sun, the princess grew terribly thirsty. She politely asked her maid to fetch some water from a nearby stream. But the maid snapped back, "If you want a drink, get it yourself. I am no longer your servant." The princess, unaccustomed to such disrespect and parched with thirst, had no choice but to dismount and lean over the stream to drink. As she did, the precious cloth with the 3 drops of blood slipped from her pocket and was washed away by the current. Her magical protection was gone. Seeing her opportunity, the wicked maidservant seized the moment. She drew her dagger and threatened the terrified princess, forcing her to trade clothes, horses, and even their identities. The maid mounted the noble Falada, and the true princess was forced to ride the maid's nag. The maid made the princess swear a solemn oath that she would never reveal this deception to a single living soul. From that moment on, the ambitious maid would be the princess, and the true princess would be her humble servant. Upon arriving at the prince's magnificent castle, the wicked maidservant, now posing as the bride-to-be, was greeted with grand ceremony. She immediately introduced the true princess as a common girl she had hired along the way, and asked the old king, the prince's father, to find some work for her. The kind king, not knowing any better, assigned the real princess to the lowliest job in the castle. She was to become the Goose Girl, herding the royal geese each day with a young boy named Conrad. But the wicked maid had one lingering fear. The noble horse Falada, he could speak, and he knew the entire truth of her betrayal. Fearing he would expose her, she told the king that the horse she rode in on was wild and unruly, and that it must be put down. She then ordered the royal executioner to kill Falada and cut off his head. When the true princess heard this terrible news, her heart broke. She had lost her mother, her title, and now her last and only friend. In her grief, she found the man who was to carry out the order and secretly offered him a piece of gold. She begged him to do her one small favor, to nail Falada's head above the large dark archway that led out of the castle, the very gate she had to pass through every morning and evening on her way to the goose fields. The man, seeing her sorrow, felt pity for her and agreed. So every morning, as the Goose Girl walked her flock out to the meadow, she would pause beneath the archway, look up at the severed head of her beloved horse, and say with a heavy heart, "Alas, Falada hanging there." And to her bittersweet comfort, the head would always reply, "Alas, Princess, passing there." If your mother knew your fate, her heart would break in two. This sad, secret exchange was the only reminder of who she truly was, a small comfort in her lonely new life. Meanwhile, the young boy Conrad, who herded the geese with her, started to notice some very peculiar things about his new companion. The first thing was her hair. It was like spun gold, shimmering and radiant. Every morning she would sit in the meadow, unpin her hair, and brush its magnificent lengths. As soon as she did, a mysterious, strong wind would suddenly whip up, and Conrad would have to chase after his hat as it blew across the field. He would get angry, but the Goose Girl would just smile sadly and braid her golden hair back up, and the wind would instantly die down. The second strange thing he noticed was her daily ritual at the castle gate. He saw her speaking to the horse's head mounted on the archway, and even stranger, he heard the head speak back. He couldn't make out the words, but he knew something magical and mysterious was happening. Conrad was a simple boy, but he wasn't foolish. The golden hair, the sudden winds, the talking horse head, ... It was all too much. He decided he had to tell someone. So he went straight to the old king and reported everything he had seen and heard. The king was a wise and thoughtful man. He listened patiently to Conrad's strange story and was deeply intrigued. This was no ordinary Goose Girl. The next morning, the king hid himself near the dark archway and watched as she passed. He heard her mournful words, "Alas, Falada hanging there," and was astonished to hear the horse's head reply, "Alas, Princess passing there." He then followed her out to the meadow from a distance and saw for himself her breathtaking golden hair and how the wind picked up the moment she let it down. The king knew Conrad was telling the truth. Something was very wrong. That evening, he summoned the Goose Girl to his private chambers. He gently questioned her, asking about her strange habits and the words she spoke to Falada's head. But the princess, bound by the cruel oath she had sworn, could not break her promise. She simply looked down and said, "I cannot tell you my sorrows, nor can I tell any living soul, for I have sworn an oath under the open sky." The king was not deterred. He saw the truth and sadness in her eyes. Thinking for a moment, he came up with a clever plan. He said to her, "If you will not tell me, then go into the kitchen and tell your troubles to the great iron stove." He then quietly left the room. The Goose Girl, feeling desperate and alone, went to the kitchen. She knelt before the huge, cold iron stove, a place of warmth and secrets. Believing she was finally alone, she began to weep, and she poured out her entire tragic story. She spoke of her mother's gifts, the wicked maid's betrayal on the road, the stolen identity, the murder of her beloved Falada, and her true status as a princess, now forced to herd geese. She whispered every last detail of her heartache into the dark, hollow belly of the stove. But she wasn't alone. The wise old king had not gone far. He had slipped outside and was listening to every single word through the stovepipe that ran up the side of the castle wall. He heard it all. Furious at the deception, the king acted immediately. He had the true princess secretly dressed in magnificent royal robes and brought her to the great hall, where the prince and the entire court were assembled for a feast. He then called the false princess, the wicked maidservant, to stand before him. The king did not immediately reveal what he knew. Instead, he posed a riddle to her. He asked, "What punishment does a person deserve who has so cruelly deceived her master?" He then recounted the entire story the Goose Girl had told the stove, but framed it as a hypothetical tale. The wicked maid, arrogant and completely unaware that her secret was out, laughed. "She deserves nothing less," she declared, "than to be put naked into a barrel studded with sharp nails, and to be dragged by 2 white horses up and down the streets until she is dead." "You are that person," the king said, his voice thundering through the hall, "and you have pronounced your own sentence." At that moment, the true princess was revealed to the court in all her royal splendor. The young prince, who had found his supposed bride to be cold and harsh, was instantly captivated by the Goose Girl's gentle beauty and noble spirit. He fell in love with her on the spot. The wicked maidservant was led away to face the very punishment she had devised. As for the true princess and the prince, they were married in a grand celebration. They ruled their kingdom with kindness and wisdom for many years, living happily ever after. And that's the tale of the Goose Girl, a story that proves that truth will always find a way to be heard. What did you think? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more classic stories. See you next time.